Greetings. I am Tom Earl. Welcome back to the celebration. I know you could be anywhere, so the fact that you are sharing your beautiful, wonderful gifts of your energy and your time, I'm truly grateful. And a reminder, if you need it, you are valued, you are appreciated, and you are loved just as you are. Okay, here we go. We got our final episode in this series with Emoja Sumler, aka Lil Tankie, that could once known as Moman. Anything you want to share while we got camera on this, the final intro to the final episode in this series, or should we just go right to camera off?
Okay, so I'll share this. This is something very few people know about me. I love baking, and I'm super, super happy. It's something that brings me as much joy as any other thing I can do is cooking for people that I love.
Okay, you mentioned baking. Cooking or baking, same thing for you?
Both.
Okay.
Look, man, I lived in the South for a long time. I open challenge to anyone who wants to see me with a smoker. Okay, just don't do that to yourself. But baking, I'm pretty good. I'm not British Bake Off good, okay? But with meat, that's a whole nother level. My barbacoa, boom. But baking, I'm getting pretty decent.
Okay, I like that. Okay, we can go camera off on that. So one of the things that happened to me this past year is you talked about breaking up with poetry, and I had to break up with entrepreneurship. My theme song for it, I recommend people listen to it from this lens, is Goodbye Yellow Brick Road. Elton John was like, just named it for me. Just named it for me. If you re-listen to that album of that breaking up with kind of like capitalism, or the way it was just toxic. So I was resonating with what you're talking about of breaking up with something you fell in love with that you thought was going to be this vehicle for transformation and connection, and just ended up being, you find yourself in a room with the same people that you'd been trying to, not be family with.
Man. Yeah, no, it's a lot. It's a freaking lot.
Okay, a couple things I wanted to start off with was one of the things that was coming up for me as just the person who's facilitating or hosting this conversation is so often when you're sharing, I really just need to like listen, but then there's almost I'm fighting against this obligation to respond. And so I've noticed this for people that oftentimes the response is listening, but I feel like people have there's this compelling to always have an answer, to always have a response. I'm curious if that this kind of like self-observation, the self-awareness observation, any of that comes up for you. Anything comes up, any thoughts comes up around this. I feel like right now, maybe social media exacerbates it, this constant feeling like, well, I need to respond, and immediately, you know what I mean?
Man, listen, I'm in love with knowledge. I spent so much before even I gave myself to the creativity of art as a profession. I was a person that quested for knowledge. You know what I'm saying? I finished my undergrad with a poetry degree, but I started with a physics degree. You know what I'm saying? Like a quest for knowledge is something I have always been on. Okay. And really smart people, they listen. They listen. There's always somebody. What you understand about knowledge is all knowledge is specialized. You know what I'm saying? People walk around and they say things like, oh, Einstein was the smartest man alive. And he's like, no, but he's definitely one of the most specialized minds in fucking physics, post-Newtonian physics, but I don't think I would necessarily be floored away with his musical theory. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
He probably has huge gaps in his knowledge as far as like social conditions. Like, we were just talking about Bell Hooks. That's a person I have a very complicated relationship with. And I love a lot of her work, but she speaks quite authoritatively about being something she's never identified as in her entire life. And that is a black man, much less a poor black man. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're talking about somebody that's a member of the intelligentsia. Like, you have a very protected position in life. You're a tenure track professor. You know, you get anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000 to speak as a speaking engagement. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's a very different socioeconomic position to speak authoritatively about experiences that you don't know. The best you could ever do is guess. And that's where it goes back to your question. Like, don't assume you know. Like, I would say, even the bell hooks, remain curious. Remain curious about why inner city black boys do the shit that they do, right? Don't speak authoritatively because you're not one of us. I can't speak authoritatively about everything black men do. I can speak about what I do, about what the people that came around my life did. And even then, I'm starting to lose authority the further down that train I get, right? I can't tell you with absolute authority why Rob shot homie that day. I do know for a fact dude had shot at him. You know what I'm saying? I was there when that happened. I was around this situation. I can assume he felt like his life was in danger. I can assume he felt like another attempt would be made on his life. I can assume he was pissed off and tired of dealing with this shit. Like, but it's all assumption, right? And this was somebody that was my best friend, someone that I love deeply. You know what I'm saying? I could never authoritatively speak on the conditions that led him to make the decisions that he made. Even if I listen to him talk, I have better knowledge, but not absolute knowledge, because even he may not have sat with what really brought him to the moment of that particular moment in his life. It's not sexy to say, okay? But the reality is, a person undergoing trauma is one of the least reliable witnesses that you can call on. And I guarantee you, this man experienced post-traumatic stress disorder. Every black person in the hood does, but especially black men. And as we start to do more and more research about inherited memories that are passed down through mitochondrial fucking strands in our DNA, where black people are afraid of water. Well, you know, maybe that goes back to motherfuckers being thrown off slave boats for a couple hundred years. The motherfuckers that live is like, you know, big bodies of water, man. Avoid that shit. Like, who the fuck knows, right? But that's all theory. That shit I'm willing to listen to, but I do know for a fact I ain't never seen a black boy that came from the places I came from that had an easy life. You know what I'm saying? That could tap into the patriarchy as it's described, again, by most of the people that think they have an understanding of this word. Black boys where I come from, we can't tap into that kind of patriarchy. Black men where I come from are hired less than white women. We make less than white women. Hell, we're hired less than black women, even though we do make more marginally. You know what I'm saying? We're accepted into college less. We're more likely to be killed by fucking law enforcement. These are things I do know statistically and have experienced on a personal level, right? But that's not the same thing as saying black men will be, black men will do because of. And also understanding, especially like, you know, I say to myself all the time, you know, someone like Young M.A., who uses very problematic language that I fucking love, probably my favorite fucking rapper. I say to myself, this person is probably a millionaire now. Maybe, you know, with music, who the fuck knows? But I guarantee you, this is not a person that's had a life where they had the luxury of just sitting back and reading bell fucking hooks to educate and grow their fucking consciousness. And we still have to have empathy and love for these people too, because these people are me.
What is the process? I'm going to do a slightly awkward transition because this is one of these that I need to digest. Talk to me about the creation of your music. How do y'all pull up Ableton and just start picking instruments and then just feel out the beat? Do you already have the beat? Talk to me about kind of who does what, where, how, what, maybe a process of a song.
Yeah, no, that's great. I actually have. Okay. So when you talk about a creative process, right? Because hip hop is, again, something where people are like, man, these motherfuckers don't even play fucking instruments, man. This shit, you know, unless it's the fucking Roots. And it's like, oh, greatest ever. And I love the Roots, but you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, like that house somehow gives you more. Listen, man, I spend a significant portion of every day listening to beats that I think I will enjoy. I have 2 or 3 promoters, producers that I fuck with their work heavy, man. I fuck with their work heavy. Whenever they have new shit out, I'm listening to it, getting a feel for it every day, right? Then from beyond there, when I'm first, so the first thing I want to do is, can I vibe to this, right? Can I vibe to this? How do I feel? How does this sit with me? You know? So then from there, I deal with my licensing. I go to the producers that I'm fucking with. When they have new shit come out, I go and cop those beats. I literally have a library of beats that I have rights to, right? To make commercial products to. And it's way more than the music that you guys have heard so far. You know what I'm saying? So then from there, once I found something that I really vibe to, I let myself go there. I'll throw that shit on, listen to it, see what are the words that are coming to my mind. What are the images that are coming? What is replaying? Again, and where I'm from, just sitting there thinking about like, the time again, where I'm talking about, there was a literal stakeout outside when I was probably the most respectable I'd ever been in my life. I'm no longer living in the hood. I'm in a nice, middle class part of Little Rock, Arkansas. I done brought all my boys up with me, doing noble shit, exposing them to shit that they wouldn't have normally had access to. You know what I'm saying? We just smoked a little weed. That's all. That's the only criminal behavior we engaged in at all, at any level. Because again, I'm an IT professional. I can't get in fucking trouble. You know what I'm saying? I can't. I could never survive the shit that a motherfucker like Dana White survives, where you're just consistently a huge in-life fuck up that's like this non-evolved man baby. Not only could I not survive, I definitely wouldn't be economically rewarded for that. So I know, if there was ever any fucking trouble, I was going to lose my job. I was going to lose my way of life. I was going to lose my house. You know what I'm saying? All of this shit. I was going to lose the ability to take care of my boys. You know what I'm saying? Like, because of course that's my proxy family that I'm trying to create. You know what I'm saying? Like, because my whole life has been one different experiment after another at creating a tribe that I can fuck with on the highest levels, that's really into the shit that I'm into, that I don't have to spend every day educating why, you know what I'm saying, we have to care about anti-oppression methodology. Like, I have to know that these are my people that got my back, that I got their back. You know what I'm saying? And like in the song, it probably had been, we were talking about Rico in the earlier episodes. Some of these events happened quite a bit ago, because I still have to protect myself and the other innocent, simply for the ways that those that wish to be an enemy to me would try to misconstrue these fucking adventures. You know what I'm saying? Making sure these are things that I talk about past the statute of limitations, like real concerns that I have to have, even when I myself was not a person at fault, having to create those things. Like, and so like when I'm hearing the song and it's like, it's putting me in those mind states. The video will be dropping soon. It may actually even be out by the time this podcast drops. And you'll get to see a lot of real parts of Little Rock, that real dichotomy of like this beautiful, picturesque southern city and this incredibly economically disadvantaged inner city, right? I mean, I don't have to worry about rebuilding Syria. Not when in the United States of America, there's places you go to that look less developed than most of the developed world. But we're the wealthiest nation in the world. So how's there any place I could go to here that looks like it's from a non-developed country? Which, by the way, how do you call Syria non-developed when, I don't know, it's Damascus is the oldest city in the fucking world? Like, again, just even taking these phrases that we say a lot in Western culture and decontextualizing them from the fucking inherent white supremacist underpinnings of things that seem innocuous.
And then when does Amin come in?
Yeah, so Amin was a huge inspiration in it, because he had been doing the music thing for a minute. You know what I'm saying? If you'll go back before Stages of Grief, he had Troublesome, which is a great fucking LP. You know what I'm saying? And like, so like for some of this stuff, like I'll hear a beat and I'll be like, yeah, we should both put something on this. We should stamp this. You know what I'm saying? For some of them, it's like, this is more my vibe. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? For me, and some of them are more his vibe. But we have this huge library of music. And then, I mean, it's not like a draft, right? If I hear him writing on it on a beat, and I see a way in there for me that makes sense, I'll reach out to him. Hey, bro, let me get 16 on this one. Let me get 32, whatever the fuck. You know what I'm saying? If it's something I'm working on and he sees a way for him in it, same thing. But some beats we hear it immediately. We like, oh yeah, this is definitely Stages of Grief, man. This is definitely Tanky and TMK. You know what I'm saying? TMK is the Matrix Killer. Because again, right, we're talking about systems. Tankies can resist an oppressive system. A tank, why the fuck do you think again in Ukraine they like, oh, let's get tanks, right? Which again, look at the optics of this. When you have, again, just to bring it back full circle, Ukrainian regiments flying full on Iron Crosses from the Nazi era, now being put on NATO weapons coming from Germany, invading Russia, right?
Mm.
Pushing back. I mean, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, all of this shit is connected, man. All of this shit is connected because, again, right? They understand the value of a fucking tank, right? TMK, the Matrix Killer. What is the fucking thing that's holding us down? It's so funny that the right wing fucking stole that whole Matrix ideology when it was originally super leftist. You know what I'm saying? The Wachowskis are good little liberals. They're doing the best they can. You know what I'm saying? Like it was in the 2000s, all that all that red pill talk was definitely leftist ideology. I mean,
Yeah.
my first national spoken word album was literally called The Red Pill. This is before I even knew Amin. That's why it's wild to me when I see motherfuckers like Elon Musk and all these billionaires. Oh, we must oppress the Matrix. Bitch, you are the Matrix. You don't hate this shit. This shit works for you. You've made it work for you even better. You know? Yeah, so like there's things that we definitely come together on. But our life experiences are not the fucking same. Amin TMK, he grew up on the East Coast. It's not a lot of guns out here. I mean, there's gun violence, but it's not accepted culture. Whereas me growing up in the South, shit, man, my fucking relatives are teaching me how to shoot shotties at 12 years old. I'm going out on fucking deer hunts and shit at 13 with rifles. You know what I'm saying? Like gun culture down.
I get.
Gun culture down. So like, like when we start talking that super gun shit, like he talk about other shit because that's not his reality. You know what I'm saying? Like, and so like that's where those stories diverge. But also, I mean, as much I feel like it's not very controversial to say this. He's much a smoother guy than me, way more refined in these ways. I mean that in the best possible way. I like being a little rough around the edges. You know what I'm saying? Just because I'm not polished, it should remind people that I'm sharp.
That's a good line right there. What was it? Just because I'm not polished doesn't mean I'm not sharp.
Should remind people that I am sharp. Things that are unpolished are sharp. You know what I'm saying? You go grab some fucking scoria from a fresh volcano, that obsidian, this shit will cut through you, man. You can polish it and it becomes a little bit less dangerous. But the edges that are not polished are jagged and will cut and tear. I think that's an important reminder about me.
If you don't have that in a song already.
Man.
One thing you touched on in there is it's interesting because, you talk about where you're from. I'm from rural Wisconsin. So,
right. That's big gun culture.
And it's also where a lot of this fringe right is.
Right.
And so I talk to folks, I'm like, a lot of folks are saying to me now, man, you were telling us way back in the day that the whole system is systemically rigged. And now we believe you, but yet your conclusions are, Trump is the answer. And I'm always telling them, I don't get it. I don't get how we reach the same conclusion. And you somehow think this dude, and I'm not trying to turn this into a Trump thing, but like you somehow think that like anti-racism is the problem. Like, how did you finally get to like, hey, do you think maybe it's the system? And it blows my mind.
It was something that they were forced to question their worldview, right? And we've already seen from who was it? It was Dr. Who was this? Not Peggy McIntosh. She did White Privilege. But that's also a useful essay for people that haven't read it. It's not just a phrase. Like, it's an academic piece of jargon that explains white privilege. That's it. It's Dr. Fuck, I can't remember her name. Shame on me.
Are you talking about White Fragility? The book White Fragility?
Yeah, White Fragility by who was that
for us? Oh,
right.
Is it D'Angelo or something?
Yeah, Robin DiAngelo, Dr.
Okay.
Robin DiAngelo, right?
Okay.
Where she literally systemically breaks down the responses to a fragility when your worldview is brought into question, right? Like, when another simple thing that's very easy to say to people, right? A very common piece of American propaganda is we are a force of good, right? The average American cannot deal with any pushback when you like start to bring receipts about like the America that exists beyond these 50 fucking states, how American foreign policy is applied, how American power is maintained, the uses of soft power and hard power, even though there are books like Confessions of an Economic Hitman.
That's exact one I was thinking of.
Right? Where like they exist, right? But that kind of pushback is deeply damaging. And so when you're telling them, you know, Trump wasn't part of the system, he was the part that corrupted this system. Like, the system is corrupt and he knows it because he was part of that corrupting force. You know what I'm saying? I mean, so yeah, look, no billionaire is the fucking answer. Okay. Like, there's no billionaire on earth that has your best interest in fucking heart. Okay. It's the billionaire class, which is why it's like, okay, it's a month of lockdown. Okay, we got to get these motherfuckers back in the factories. Okay, they are vital workers. We're not going to pay them a vital wage, but our profits would be detrimentally affected if they weren't here. So we're going to call them vital. You know, those people don't have your best interest in mind. Okay, whether we're talking about Trump or Bezos or any billionaire. Okay, not Bill Gates. None of these motherfuckers are like, how can I make humanity better? Because most of them have enough wealth to end world hunger if they chose to. And the fact that they don't should tell you right then and there, their ideology is profit, right? So again, it points to the limitations of what can even be conceivably achieved in a system like capitalism, where, okay, well, but these guys make a lot of donations. Yeah, to their private foundations. Trump is, once again, a textbook example of a person that gives away millions of dollars to charities, his charities, which he then claims as a fucking tax write-off. And he's not no fucking villain on this shit, no more than Bill Gates is, no more than fucking any of these billionaires are, because the accumulation of, they're hoarders, and the thing they hoard is wealth, right? To the detriment of everyone else. You know what I'm saying? So like, all of that is real shit that you have to look at, man. They cannot help because it's not why would they help you if it hurt them? That's not who they are. You know what I'm saying? And so like, that's real shit that you have to deal with on that. Like, those guys, man, there's ways to make coalition with them. I do it every Lyft ride, every Lyft ride where I'm dealing with some guy who I can tell is obviously super to the right, which goes back to the very first conversation we're having the first week, right? We have to make coalitions with these people because socioeconomically, you have a lot in common. They have real concerns, and it's too easy to vilify your enemies, right? Some poor country white person that votes Republican, right? They're not more dangerous to me than the Republicans that run, right? They normally are being manipulated, just like people that vote Democrat are being manipulated in ways that make them believe their world will change and for the worse if you go with this other guy, and not given any real policy. You know what I'm saying? But if you go to the root of even their policy concerns, that's where you can begin to make coalition with them, right? So say you're dealing with some very conservative white person in Arizona, right? Anti-immigration. Okay. So let's have a conversation about land rights, right? This is something. So you don't feel like the government should have the right to allow these people to come over because it will affect your ability to make money, right? These people will work for a wage less than what you work for. So, okay, your problem is not immigration. Your problem is business practices. What you want to see is a ways to maintain and ensure that anybody working for this company is forced to be paid at least this fucking wage so that it doesn't affect your life in a bad way. Your problem is not immigration. Your problem is Tyson. Your problem is Tropicana. You know what I'm saying? Like, and you can make coalition with these people if you hear them and hear what their real concerns are, and you're able to deconstruct the root cause of that. Now, look, at the end of that string, for a lot of people, the root cause is anti-blackness, anti-people of color. I don't want more Mexicans here because they're going to fuck white girls, right? I can't fix that, okay? I can't build coalition with that guy, okay? But the guy that's like, I don't want to lose my fucking mortgage, I can make coalition with him because I understand where his struggle is and I can meet him on a place of commonality. But at the same time, that's not very different, right? Then when I'm in, once again, the nonprofit industrial complex and Susan doesn't want to hire this kind of a black person because Shaniqua might not be presentable to the people that give us grant money. I mean, you're still doing the same shit. You're choosing to damage a person of color's life because it will affect your economic reality, except that you get to feel better about yourself by saying, well, America's a nation of immigrants, while really having no real policy difference in the way that you move through your life. But you get the virtue signal.
There it is.
My parents came from Italy. My parents came from Ireland. Yeah, and there was a place to greet those white people. People from Mexico. I'm sorry, California was Mexico. Arizona was Mexico. New Mexico was Mexico. Texas was Mexico. They're not immigrating. They're returning to their ancestral fucking homelands. And you, as a proud supporter of Israel, you should absolutely understand a people's right to return. Once again, finding ways where you can make coalition if you're arguing in good faith.
What do you mean by that last part?
Some people are not arguing in good faith. Some people are saying, I don't want to see immigration happen because it's going to lower my money. But really, you don't want immigration to happen because you don't want America to not be a majority white culture. And that's something I can't make coalition with. If that's your root core fear of immigration, as a black man who has 2 children, I can't help you, man. I can't help you with that. Only you can do that work for you. But you won't be doing it with me because you're literally stating to me, you are a danger to me. You're a danger to those that come from me. You're a danger to those that look like me. And when bad things happen to us, you will not have empathy.
This, I feel like, these 4 episodes, I am so grateful for you. I'm going to have to listen to these myself quite a few times. And then would love to have you back. And I'm sure you'll have more music that's come out by then. And we could digest this stuff together again and talk more about your music. Does that work for you?
Hey, man, I'm with it, man.
And we'll try to make it so it's not a 3-year gap.
Hopefully the world won't go to shit, man. Go out there and do good things, man. Thank you so much for having me.
It's my honor. I love you. I appreciate you. Your music, the Impulse News. Is that
Public Pulse News? But we're about to rebrand to Inner City Left. We're bringing everything under one umbrella: the music, the fucking podcast, all of it, man. So thank you for doing your part, man. Love you so much.
I love you. And honestly, the Inner City Left Instagram, every post y'all put out, I literally just have to sit there and be like, okay, time to rethink about things here, Tom.
We're here to change people's perspectives, and that in and of itself is a dangerous thing.
That's exactly what you do every time. I'm like, well, I thought I knew, but I clearly don't. So let me kind of shut my mouth here for a second and do some listening and some detangling of cables in my brain that I didn't even realize had been connected in a way that doesn't align with the world I'm trying to create. So I appreciate you so much.
Man. All right, man. Y'all be smarter, man. Don't be scared when a balloon goes across the sky. You have U.S. officials going to Taiwan being like, you guys should declare independence. Come on, man. Keep it the same energy.
Okay, final one. Where can the good folks out there get at you, and what is your final invitation in this series for us?
I'm available in all the places you might seek art. You know what I'm saying? If you're looking for music, whatever services you use, just throw in Lil Tankie. You know, if you're feeling real spicy, put in Lil Tankie and TMK. You know, you're going to get some really, really good, really genuine music, man, that our heart is in. Yeah. And my final admonition is, if you really are pro-life, I need you to deeply examine your belief system as it relates to the use of force, because the state has a monopoly on force, and it doesn't mean anything at all to be against the death penalty if you don't have any problem with law enforcement using lethal force. Because even with death penalty, at least you got a fucking trial. I mean, these guys are deciding life and death on the fucking streets, and America is predicated on innocent until proven guilty. In the streets, you ain't been proven guilty of shit. You have a cop's word against your word, and you should get to say your word somewhere before you get killed.
There we go. Well said. Well said. Okay. For those of us who want to learn more about the work we're doing here at the Celebration, we're always trying to bring together a place for awkward, courageous, uncomfortable, vulnerable creativity and storytelling. And you can learn about that at tomearl.me/DCM invite. Once again, Emoja Sumler, aka Lil Tankie That Could, once known as Mo Man, this has been a gift and an honor. I'm so grateful for you. Thank you for sharing with us these past 4 episodes. I appreciate you.
Stay up. One love, man. Y'all be good.
Well said. And to all those who are listening, as always, I'm wishing you peace and blessings. Thank you.
Oh, one more thing. I'd love to continue the conversation. Feel free to join me at tomearl.com/join. Subscribe below, or let's connect on social media. Tom Earl Artist. Thanks again for watching.